informative. There is so much to think about, and it can be very overwhelming. So take the information. I also wanted to let you know that Melinda, who's in the back there, she's a COA outreach person. She is a wealth of knowledge. So she's a Shine counselor. She can help with Medicare and getting that all straightened out. She's also does food stamps and fuel assistance and really knows the system very well. And she knows about tax abatements at town hall, ways to help you stay in place if it's becoming a financial burden as well. So just keep in mind, if you need anything, to give Melinda or the office a call, and we'll be glad to help you. Christina back there is the program assistant director, and she also is very knowledgeable on fitness and lifetime learning and learning Medicare and all of the good stuff. So we have a really good team. And then Judy's going to say a few words, and then Malka Young is going to be our presenter today, and she's very knowledgeable as well. She runs Allies in Aging, part of Jewish Family Metro West. Jewish Family Services, and she's done many a program for us, and one of her colleagues, Lila, does our fitness classes, and she's also going to be part of the series as well later on. So I'll have Judy come, and then we'll turn it over to Malka.
I was asked to just come up and say a couple of words of welcome from Pilgrim Church. Thank you all. Thank you for coming, Malka. Thank you, COA, for co-partnering with us. Pilgrim Church's Outreach and Engagement Committee has gotten engaged in its work and is trying harder to engage the community in the life at Pilgrim Church. So I give you a warm welcome from Pilgrim, and thank you all for coming.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. People are watching you. So yes. Speak into the microphone. Sorry. Well, I'll probably get up and down, so somewhere in the middle. All right. But it works best when you speak directly into it. Why don't you start and then I'll get a different stand. Okay, great. All right. So I'm going to move over and speak directly into it. And I want to welcome the people here on Zoom. My name is Malka Young, and I'm just going to play a little something to get us in the mood. Are you ready? I hope we can hear this. I have to take my hearing aids out, else you're not going to be able to hear it. You know what? Let's forget it. I was going to play The Clash. You know The Clash? Should I stay or should I go? You know, I wanted to get us in the mood. Pardon me. I'm putting my hearing aids back on. This is part of getting old, by the way. You know, I have people, I'm a social worker who won't wear their hearing aids because they think it makes them look old. So let me ask you, do I look a little older than I did a minute ago? Are my hearing aids? Forever young, right? So before I start, I just want to tell you how I think about aging. Okay, because technically, and anyone who works with the COA, they know you, in general, you think of aging services 60 and older, but there's a big difference between a 60-year-old, an 80-year-old, a 100-year-old, and they're all old, right? So I think about aging in three things. There's the young old and the middle-aged old and the old old. So I call them the go-goes, the slow-goes, and the no-goes. But aging is a developmental phase. And if we're lucky enough, we're going to experience it. It's no different than being a baby or a toddler or a preschooler. And so being older, everyone ages differently. And so, you know, age is just a number. So I'm going to spoil the microphone. I'm going to stand up. Is there possible for me to hold it? Oh, this is great. Oh, I feel like I'm on TV. This is wonderful. Okay. I apologize. I was a few minutes late because I'm actively working. And so I'm going to actually be referring to this. How does this go? How do we get to the next slide? Is there? Okay, next slide, please. It's okay. The next slide is where I thank Judy and I thank Susan and I thank all of you for coming. So let's go forward 2 slides, okay? We have a lot of material. So you're going to have some experts coming in the next 4 weeks. I'm the big picture person. I'm going to say, how do I think about this? How am I going to make a decision? As a social worker, I work with older people and adults. I'm fortunate since 1986 in Metro West. I've been working with older adults and their families. So I feel very lucky. Um, so I see these issues. I have some people who are planners and some people wait for a crisis before doing anything. And I'm going to invite all of you to become planners because the earlier you start the plan, the more choices you have. And it's really about choices, okay? And there's no right or wrong way to do that. Staying in your home is not better than going to Florida to retire or moving to a 55 plus. It's what is right for you. And it's very hard to know, to discern that. And I call it the pinch test. The truth is your friend. And so this is what we're going to talk about. So there's a lot, these are the things I think about when you think about, as you get older, what is the place that's going to support you in being independent? Where are you going to be that you're going to have the best quality of life? So these are all the factors. You can read them: health and wellness, housing. You're going to have lots of people talking about housing alternatives and housing and health and wellness. Transportation is very important. Social connections, financial, and I should say legal considerations, safety and security, and future needs. So let's go to the next slide. So the ones in yellow, those are the ones we're going to focus on today. And we have an hour. And if you have questions, we have a big group today. Is there a place they could write it down or something? Normally I ask you just to interrupt me, but we have too many people to do that. But I'm happy to come back if you want a smaller group. So when I talk, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to say, this is what housing, these are the 3 things you need to consider. And then I'm going to have a slide about plans. And you have to have a plan A if everything goes according to plan. Plan B, an alternate, and what steps are you going to make for things that might happen. And so this is what I'm thinking when I talk about personal plans. It's discussions I want to have with family or others. Whatever you do, it's important that you share that information with the people closest to you because anything can happen at any time. And we all know that. All right. We all plan on waking up tomorrow, but we don't know that we will wake up tomorrow. And that's because we're mortals. That's what human beings are. And mortal means that we're people who will die. 100% of us. That's true. So we need to make plans and share those plans. Not such, it's normal. It's like being born or growing up or whatever. It's part of life, right? Professional services or outside expertise I may need. So we all know a lot. We're smart people. We've made it so far, but we can't know everything. No one person can know everything. I pride myself on being a generalist. I know a little about a lot of things. Okay. That helps me because I have the big picture. So I might, if you and I were having a consultation, I might know you need to do X, but I might not know how to do X, but I can send you to 2 or 3 people who are very good at doing X, and you can choose the one that works best for you. So that's my expertise. And very important, legal actions or documents you want to pursue or create. Do you know where your birth certificate is? Do you know where your original Social Security card is? If you were in the service, do you have your DD-214? Do you have your discharge papers? These are all things when you get involved in bureaucracies that you are going to need. Okay, and don't laminate anything. Put it in a folder. If you've laminated any of your cards, you're going to have to get duplicates because for whatever reason, the bureaucracies don't like that. Other items that you want to tackle that don't involve this, and then questions you need answers. My goal today is that you come away with lots of questions, and then you're going to have the experts in the next few weeks. And so so you may know now whether you want to stay in your home or whether you're thinking what your alternatives are, or you may not, but that's okay. You're going to learn a framework today to how to think about it and how to make that decision. All right. All right. Next slide, please. This is nice. Who's doing the slide? Oh, good. Hi. What is your name? Doug. So if I say your name, Doug, you'll know to just go to the next. You're an IT expert. Thank you. Talking about IT. I implore you, I urge you, everyone should be able to use email. Everyone should be able to use a smartphone. Everyone needs to be able to use the internet. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, if you, say, I don't need to do it, you need to know how to do it. It's like reading and writing and basic arithmetic. You are illiterate if you cannot use technology. And it's not too hard. It is not beyond you. What do you think? I'm going to ask a question. What do you think the number one scam for older adults is, by the way? No, it's not. You're wrong. It is technology. You're going to get some kind of a scam on your computer. It'll be like flashing red or yellow and say, there's a virus in your computer. Or your computer's been compromised, and they're going to ask for your personal information, and they're going to get into your bank accounts. It's literally billions of dollars because people are afraid of technology. Okay. So that's my plug. That's my plug for Doug. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about health and wellness. I know Lila's going to do a lot, but these are things, as I said, go-goes, slow-goes, and no-goes. Most of you here are go-goes and maybe some slow-goes, but that's the one thing that you have control over. Number one, you want to make wellness a priority. You want to understand the resources available to you. I mean, resources for your health and well-being. And you need to let people know what your health wishes are as time goes on. I think it's like really high, like 80% of older adults have at least one chronic condition, and about 50 chronic condition like arthritis, high blood pressure, heart disease, and 50%, so that'd be half of you, like more than 10 people here, have more than one. Okay. So that's part of aging. Look, I mean, did anyone here have a 70-year-old car? Oh, you do. 70. Okay, good for you. It takes a lot, and it works. Good for you. Wow. Wow. But whatever, nothing lasts forever, right? The equipment starts to wear out. So whether it's your teeth or your hearing or your vision or your muscles, normal aging. I don't want to go into detail because Lila is like the expert and we'll be talking about it. Next slide, Doug. So what does it mean to make wellness a priority, and why do you need to make wellness a priority? It's because your ability to be independent, where no matter where you're living, is dependent on your physical fitness. Everyone I talk to, I say, do you exercise? And they say, oh, I walk. I walk every morning. Walking is not enough. I'm sorry, guys. I don't care how many steps you do. It's not enough. Okay. You need to think about flexibility, which could be yoga, Tai Chi. You need to think about balance. You need to leave strength, normal aging, sarcopenia. That means your muscles get weaker. If you exercised every day and did the same exercise routine, your muscles would lose strength as you age. So basically, think of it this way, all right? You're getting older, your muscles are getting weaker, but you're exercising, so your muscles are getting stronger. So you have to work out, whatever that means, to stay in the same place, okay? Isn't that exciting? Isn't that great? But you are signed up, you're here, right? But I mean, it's so interesting because yesterday I met a 76-year-old woman. I had 3 new clients yesterday. 76-year-old woman, she looked so elegant, walking around. Unfortunately, she has dementia. I had a 93-year-old woman who is in a wheelchair, and then a 98-year-old woman who could barely lift her head up. But they're all different, okay, physiologically, And so you want to be your best self. It's not about weight anymore. It's not about how you look. It is really about using your lungs. When you exercise, use your lungs. It's about balance. It's about strength. So it's really important because it's the one modifiable thing you can do. Everyone can exercise. There's some kind of exercise for everyone. And the earlier you start, I see there's some younger people in this room and maybe on Zoom, it's never too early to start. It's not about about being an athlete. There's great exercise classes here. There's the Y. I don't know if people know, but the Y is a nonprofit organization. It's on a sliding fee scale. Planet Fitness, $10 a month. There's lots of ways, So, all right, next slide, Doug. Thank you. All right, and you have to. There's research. What happens as I see for many older people as they get older, is their whole social lives revolve around medical appointments. I think that sucks. I'm sorry. My husband's a doctor. I mean, you have to, what? What? Well, no, you think about it. People say, oh, I have a doctor's appointment next week. I have 2 doctor's appointments this week. It's like, can we make look, I don't want to get into it, but I mean, basically, you have to say, what do I want my life to be about? My next doctor's appointment or having coffee with a friend or going to my yoga class, whatever, a chair yoga class. So health is really important. It may become the largest expense you have in your budget as you get older. And look at this. We talked about the chronic things. So you're going to need to understand about Medicare. I'm going to give my little show about Medicare Advantage. I hate it. I call it Medicare Disadvantage. When they tell you about all the free things you get, but they don't tell you that you can't go, depending on your health plan, you may not be able to go to Marianne Morse for rehab if you want to go. Your Medicare Advantage, the way it works, it's basically the privatization of Medicare. And this is my own point of view, by the way. All right. This is that it's private Medicare and it's the biggest profit maker for the insurance companies. And the way they make their profits is by denying or delaying you care. And so you're going to have to say, who do you want to make your healthcare decisions? Do you want to decide which doctors you go see? If you ever need rehab, do you want to have choices? There are reasons to be in a Medicare Advantage, but the Shine counselors are wonderful, but they will always tell you the least expensive thing. But look at your budget and how you use your resources. That may or may not be your best plan. I just want you to think that just like anything in life, there's pros and cons. But in general, there's so much advertising. So, but I think it's important that you understand Medicare does not cover home care. It's for intermittent services. It was kind of based in the 60s. In 1965, I think that's when Medicare started. People didn't live as long as they do today. The older you are, the longer you're going to live. Everyone here has missed the cut for dying young. So here we are, right? So it does, so it'll cover a few weeks of PT, maybe an aid once a week while you're recovering from a hip replacement. But remember those 80% of older adults that have chronic illnesses, 50% have 2. We also have, older adults, you may be mobility impaired, you may need assistance in showering or whatever you need help with. Medicare doesn't cover it. Okay. And, and there's, and I really want everyone, and they'll be talking about, is look into the Prescription Advantage program. It is a wonderful, wonderful state-run program to help for your copays. It seems like a secret. A lot of people don't know about it. Even if you have a higher income, let's say you don't like your insurance plan and now you have to wait till October to change it. Well, guess what? If you apply for Prescription Advantage, you get your own personal enrollment opportunity once a year. You can do that if you've applied for Prescription Advantage that one time when you apply. You don't even have to get it. You just have to apply. So that's like a little trade secret there. Okay, most people don't think about it. Next slide, Doug. So this is, okay, very important. Do you have an advance directive? What is an advance directive? advanced directive is, do you want to be, do you want CPR? Do you want to be intubated? If you had kidney disease, do you want dialysis? Whoever your healthcare proxy is, you need to have conversations about what your values and choices are. Um, right now, my husband's my healthcare proxy. I'm not sure if I became old, had more illness or was more frail. I think I might make my daughter. My husband, thank God, God bless him. I'm so lucky. We've been married almost 50 years. He loves me. He's never going to let me die, and I'm not sure, um, I'm not sure if if I don't know who you are, I'm not sure I want to live. Do you know what I'm saying? That's my cognition is really important to me. So these are the kind of, everyone has different values. So you need to talk about, and it's not enough just to have a healthcare proxy. You have to talk to that healthcare proxy about your preferences. And please designate an alternate. The first thing I ask when I work with a couple and someone in that couple, one has dementia and the other doesn't, I'll say, who's your healthcare proxy? But here, in general, women are caregivers and the husband, may be the person with dementia. It's not always true, but I'll say, who's your healthcare proxy? And they'll say, my husband. Oh, her poor husband. He doesn't know what day it is. He doesn't know where he is. He may not know who she is, and he's her healthcare proxy. A good idea. So you have to always be, again, thinking about plans. Just because you have a healthcare proxy, you need to look at it periodically because that person may or may not be the person you want anymore. And I think, there's specific problems or issues if you live alone. If you live alone, you want to get cataract surgery or you need a colonoscopy, not everybody, has a partner. Not everyone has someone who can take them home. So, so that's very difficult. Right now, I have a client who married late in life, never had her own children. Two of her friends, one is the healthcare proxy, the other is alternative. When they were out golfing, when they were going to the movies and out lunch, of course, I want to be your healthcare proxy. I like you, right? But now that she's in a memory care unit, assisted living, and she doesn't know where she is, she doesn't know who they are, it's a big responsibility. Okay, so again, if you it's kind of like informed consent. You have to know. Next one, Doug. Keep going. Yeah. So these are the plans, right? So if you were like taking notes, what's your plan A for your health and wellness? Your ideal thing. I'm going to join the Y. I'm going to go to the chair yoga class at the COA. What about a plan B if my financial, physical, or health circumstances change? Because that can happen. Actions I will take to make your plan A probable and the plan B possible. Some of you may already be doing your optimal wellness. That's great. So you want to keep doing that, but you may want to start doing stuff. So this is what basically this is an outline for any plan in any area. Okay. Which is having a plan A, having it's like plan A, if someone in a couple, someone has dementia and the other person's the caregiver, what happens if the caregiver gets sick or incapacitated? So you have to have a plan B, okay? The only thing that's true about life, right? You know this, I don't have to say it. This too shall pass. However it is today, it's going to be different tomorrow. Everything changes, right? That's part of being human. So it's part of aging. It's part of our decisions. We may decide that we're going to age in place at home, right? And we're going to, in the future, in the next couple of weeks, you're going to have home modification people, but that may not always be possible. Okay, so 20 years from now, that may not be your best choice. All right, next slide, Doug, please. Okay, what about housing? So this is really important because people think, oh, I'm going to live in my house and I might downsize, or I'm going to go to independent living, 55 plus, assisted living. It's not like going to kindergarten and then first grade and then high school and then college, or maybe graduate school or maybe a trade school. It doesn't work like that. Not everyone goes to assisted living. Assisted living is very, very, very expensive. Okay. Anyone hear about the Place for Mom? You know what that is? Yeah, yeah. It's called a lead generator. You know what a lead generator is? It's a sales thing, okay? So when people say, "Oh, I'm really worried about my spouse, my mom," they take your name and they take all your personal information and they sell it to people. So like these assisted living, and they're all salespeople there. They're nice and they're important. We need places like assisted living. So this is not against assisted living. This is about how they're marketed to older adults, okay? So what I want you to know is that 95% of older adults never go to a nursing home long term. Don't go. Everyone's worried about ending up in a nursing home. Most people never end up in a nursing home. So it can be a worry, but it doesn't have to be your first worry, okay? Because if statistically you're not gonna be there. All right. So these assisted living, so these nice people who come and say, "I know just the right place for you." They get $3,000 when you sign on the dotted line. They get $5,000 when they sign on the dotted line. I just recently helped someone go, they needed memory care. And I know that I know the director of admissions or community. They call them different things, but they're the marketing people. And she says, "Oh, you're so lucky you called. We have one apartment left." Well, because I'm a social worker who works with older adults and I need to be well networked because I need to know what's going on. I'm on like a mailing list. And so from that company that owns that memory care, I got an email that's sent to, all social workers who work with older adults saying, "We have lots of openings at our memory care." So, so don't worry. If that's what you want and that's what you need, there will be a place for you. Okay. All right. But you have to think about what you really want. My big question with people, I have a lot of people, they don't want to leave their homes. It's very important to them. Their house is falling apart around them. They no longer can maintain their home, but they don't want to leave. It's really hard sometimes when you get older to maintain yourself as well as your surroundings. So again, that's where the truth is really helpful, right? We just went through this with my mother-in-law and father-in-law. We are very fortunate that they were able to stay in their home till they died. My father-in-law in his early 90s, my mother-in-law in her mid 90s. They both had dementia, different kinds of dementia. And so we went to sell the house and we said, "Oh, this house is so beautiful. It's right across the street from the Long Island Sound. We're going to get millions of dollars for this." Well, there was an oil tank buried in the ground, and there was a tree that had grown into the side of the house. And, it's like they couldn't maintain the house. I mean, it took all our family's resources to pay for the care they needed at home. And so we didn't, that wasn't paid attention. So we were able to sell it, but not for millions of dollars. We were lucky. We found a contractor, and we were able to sell as is. But what I'm saying is that always ask yourself this question: does my house serve me? Does my house support me in my highest quality of life and my level of living? Can I afford to live in my house? I caution you. Again, I have very strong opinions. You may have noticed. I'm not a big believer in reverse mortgages. Okay. Be very careful about it. If you're thinking about a reverse mortgage, I think you need to ask yourself the question, can I really afford to stay here? In some cases, it may be okay, but to me, it's a red flag. Okay. That's one of those questions. Is the house serving you or are you serving the house? Okay. So that's, you have to, as I said, the truth is your friend. Be proactive in identifying resources, and we're going to go into that, and evaluate accessibility and fall hazard. Very, very important, and also knowing your limits. I have people, they don't want to use a cane. They think it makes it look them old, or a walker. Mobility, guys. I have to tell you, I'm going to share something personal now. I've had brain surgery twice. When you're 47 years old and your neurologist gives you a book called When Walking Fails, that's not a good sign. All right. If you had met me maybe 30 years ago, I was walking on those Canadian crutches, the ones with those little things. look at me now, right? I'm so grateful that I live here in Boston and had, surgery at Mass General. I'm very, very lucky and blessed person, but it just helps you get from here to there, right? And we're going to talk about that when we get to transportation. A cane doesn't make you look old. A walker doesn't make you look old. A wheelchair, that's internalized ageism, guys. That's prejudice. That's good. That's going to harm you. Look at everyone here. This is what everyone's different, and this is what normal aging looks like. Okay, it's more important that you can safely move than how you safely move. All right, um, and and again, fall hazards. Someone else I know is going to be talking about that, and I know that comes up often. Biggest thing, area rugs. And beautiful when I was in yesterday. Each room was more gorgeous than the last. They had been to Nepal. Isn't that cool? In Bhutan, they had these great rugs in there on the floor. I'm going like, oh God, that's a fall hazard. That's a fall hazard. Oh, but I love that rug. Rugs can be hung on walls, right? So, serious. My dad, he had a stroke, God bless him, and he was over in Framingham. And, and we used to say, we're your personal emergency response size, Dad. And, we don't want you to fall. And if you fall, you're going to end up in a nursing home. And of course, he fell in the bathroom, was on the floor for 8 or 9 hours. His little emergency pendant was hanging on his bed, right? And I met him in the ER here in Framingham, and he says, Malk, you're right, nursing home city. He wasn't able to go home. He did end up dying right here in Marion Morse. But fall's the number one reason for hospitalizations, getting into a nursing home. So, you can learn not to fall. Falling is not inevitable. I mean, gravity happens, and so we're all at risk for falling. But anyway, next slide, Doug. Okay, so what are your priorities? You have to think about this. Being near family. How many times you want to move in your life? Think about when, some people, when they're in their 70s, they'll move down to Florida. They come back here in their 90s because they want to be near Florida, be near family. So some people won't travel because will only travel to cities because they want to be near a major medical center. Okay, maybe you have health problems and you need to do that. Warm weather. I mean, maybe you're tired of the weather up here. Maybe if you can't stay in your house, maybe, is it important for you to stay in the town that you live in? Okay. What is it, the house, or is it your community? Maybe it's your church or your ethnic group. So you have to, again, this is a time for self-reflection about your own values and things, because there isn't a right or a wrong. Okay. Not everyone goes to assisted living or 55 plus, whatever it is. It's you be you, right? This is very important. All right. Next slide, Doug. So, yeah, so one of the programs I really like is called HMLP, House Maintenance. Oh, what is it? It's a program through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts where you can get an interest-free loan for up to $50,000 to make your home accessible. Okay, it's a great, great program, and I know Sue can tell you more about it. I had a client who was legally blind, and they came in, and all she wanted was to, the bathtub, because she had one of those bath shower things, and it was a fall risk. They changed all her carpets because when you're blind and legally blind, you don't see well. So she had holes in her carpets. So they switched out her carpets under this loan program, so there were like dark carpets in this room and light carpets in the hall. And they redid the bathroom. And they put a little rail by the front door and they redid her driveway all under this program. Things that, that I wouldn't have thought about. An interest-free loan, guys, doesn't have to be paid back till the house is sold. So if this is a program that will support you in staying in your home, okay? And it's, certain things you have to have income, like you have to be very low income. This is a program that's not about that at all. It's about you staying in your home, right? And you know about that, right? So people can talk to you. Melinda, yeah. But have you had any clients use it? Because I haven't. I think it's a great program. The home loan modification program. That's what it is. HLMP. Sorry, guys, I got that switched. So if you're thinking of moving to senior housing and your income can change as you get older, think about that. If you have two spouses living together, someone dies, your income is gonna be decreased. Social Security, you no longer have two Social Security checks. So, sometimes if the person who dies was a higher earner, your Social Security check will go up a little bit, but not that much. So the question is, um, you know, if you think at some point that you may need to move to income qualified housing, they have low income housing, moderate income housing, get yourself on a list. Families call me all the time because mom is running out of money, or, mom's in New Hampshire, they want to bring her here. And I tell them, well, it's 3 years on a waiting list for moderate income housing, and it's 5 to 7, depending on which facility, which community for low income. They're shocked. They're shocked. So get on the waiting list. If you're on the waiting list, every year you're going to get a letter. Respond to that letter, because if you don't respond to that letter, they're going to take you off that waiting list. So you can always say no. So again, think ahead. All right. And then Medicare does not pay for assisted living, and Medicaid, which Mass Health, which is Medicaid in Massachusetts, does not pay for assisted living. So, and assisted living facilities are not medical facilities. They're non-medical care, and they're not regulated by the Department of Public Health. They are regulated by the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. And so, I mean, people are sometimes really surprised. And assisted living now is $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month. Memory care is another $2,000 on top of it. There's very few assisted living. There is a Mass Health program that which can contribute towards assisted living, but very few facilities participate it. And there's none in the immediate area that do. Okay, next slide, Doug. Okay. And this you can do now. This is something you can be proactive. Right now, you can evaluate for your home for fall hazards. AARP has a wonderful site about evaluating your own home. If you ever have in-home PT, they'll give you a home evaluation. If you're working with me, myself, or one of my care managers will evaluate your home. So, and big question, can you get out of the house if there was a fire? It was terrible. A few weeks ago in Sudbury, there was a woman who was in a wheelchair. There was a fire in the house. It was like one of those electrical shortages, and she died. She couldn't get out. And so one of the 93-year-old woman that I met with yesterday, she lives in her daughter's house, beautiful home in Needham, all on one level. Her daughter wants to go, stay for a couple of days with her boyfriend up in New Hampshire. I said, well, if there's a fire, can you get out? No, she can't get out. So the question is, should she have someone in the house when she goes away? Well, I'm not the social work police. I can't make anyone do anything, right? But the answer is yes. If you can't get out of the house, you need someone there who could push you out. Unless, there's different ways to die. I mean, we all want to go to bed one day and not wake up, but I wouldn't want to die in a fire. So, but it's really hard. That's where I say telling the truth. You can't negotiate with the truth. Okay. And that's the hard thing. And that's the hard thing about getting older. All right. Because her mom doesn't want anyone in the house. She doesn't need anyone. She's fine. Okay. Next slide, Doug. And maintaining your house is also maintaining your yard, which can be, it's not just you. Okay. Same plan. We're not going to go through it. Plan A, plan B, and then what are you going to do? What can you do now? All right, and you're going to have lots of people talking about housing. Next slide. How am I doing time, guys? There's so much material. It's good. We're good. Transportation. Oh, how many here? Raise your hand if you're looking forward to driving retirement. Driving retirement. Where's your hands? Where's your hands? What does that mean? In Finland, all driver's license expire at age 80. Can you imagine that? 100%. There's nobody who can drive in Finland if they're over the age of 80. What do you do? That is the $64,000 question. I'm going to put that right there because I just want to say one more thing is that if you're 75, if you're older than 75, you cannot rent a car in Europe. Okay. There's an acknowledgement that your abilities change as you age. Listen to this, guys. Truth, your abilities change as you age. All right? All right. So safe driving is about abilities, not your age. Okay? I know everyone tells me, well, older adults, they have less accidents than teenagers, new drivers. That is true. But the accidents they do have are worse. They have more injuries and more people die. So it may be less, but there's no free lunch here. Okay. And for most people, there will come a time when they can't drive. So I know this man here, he doesn't like what I'm saying. You can't hear me? Am I talking too softly? All right. Well, I'll look at you and I'll know. You just go like this and I'll know to speak up. But it's about ability, not age. Talk to your doctor and say, if you think I can't drive, let me know. Okay. If your family wants you to have a driver's evaluation, please listen to them. It's better to stop driving a day too early than a day too late. You don't want to be like my client who went the wrong way on 128 and killed a young man on a motorcycle who had 3 kids. Do you know what happened to her life savings? Do you know what happened to her house? She couldn't get that she shouldn't be driving. She kept going back to the RMV, revoked her license. She went through everything until the judge yelled at her and said, you are never going to get your license back. Okay. So I think, take those safe driving classes. You can evaluate yourself online. Again, AARP has a website that you can self-test. But think about that. Again, like mobility, canes, walkers, not about driving somewhere. It's about where do you want to go? And today, in 2024, there's so many more options that there weren't 10 years ago. It's amazing. Okay. We have, we have Uber, we have Lyft. So look, I want to get into that. And then again, anticipate that it may not be this year or next year, maybe 5 or 10 years, but think about that. Maybe where you live, Sherborn is so beautiful, but if you're on 3 or 4 acres of property, there's very few walkable areas here that you can get anywhere. So next slide, Doug. So this is what I said, normal changes. Yeah. And can I tell you about how I do an evaluation? I'm coming to your house. I'm sorry, the people sitting in front, I apologize because I keep picking on you. I'm coming to your house. As I'm walking up your door, I'm looking at your car and I'm going, look at the scratches there. Look on the side. Look, there's a dent. That's my driving evaluation as a social worker. And people, number one sign of dementia, people get lost. Right. So just be aware. All right, next slide, Doug. Okay, it's very important. So I was really pleased. I went on your website to see all your transportation alternatives, and you can still be able to drive, and you can still have a car, and you can take advantage of these things. You can practice now. And again, if you're concerned about your finances,
owning a car is expensive. Insurance is expensive. Repairing a car is expensive. Maintaining a car is expensive. When I went to get my snow tires taken off my car, this is a plug for Wheel Dynamics. I really like it. They're pretty fun, but they keep my snow tires. He said, "It's been 6 years. Next year you need 4 new snow tires." You know how much that's going to cost me, right? It's going to be almost $1,000. So anyway, look at this is from in Sherborn. They have free or discounted JFK transportation coupons. Isn't that great? If you're on Mass Health, they can provide rides to your doctors. There's a medical ride card you can get. Dial-a-ride. Isn't that cool? I didn't know you'll get to Worcester with Dial-a-ride. I was very impressed. And look at that, $2 to $5 a ride. That's not bad. That's each way. And then massridematch.org. That was a resource I didn't know about. So that was pretty cool. So that's so, and as I said, there's Uber and Lyft. You do not need to have a smartphone to use Uber, and you no longer have to go through GoGo Grandparent. Uber has its own dedicated phone line. GoGo Grandparent is good if you know, because it can notify your kids when you're driving, but there is an extra charge. But the Uber phone, there's no extra charge. Next slide, Doug. I like walking around and talking. Thank you. Do you think I have another career ahead of me? This is fun. Okay, so develop a plan. So think about driving retirement. Everyone should plan on there will be a time to stop driving. I told you about my dad. He had a stroke and we brought him up here. His girlfriend called us. They've been together 4 years and said, "I took care of my husband. I'm not taking care of your dad." And she never saw him again. So we felt bad for him. But we brought him up here and all he wanted to do was to bring his car up from Florida and drive. And my sister and I were really terrible. We just said, "Great, bring your car up," but we wouldn't help him do it. And he wanted to drive, and we said, "Well, if you take a driver's evaluation and you can get them downtown Boston, Spalding does them, Emerson does it. If you pass, we'll stop nagging you about stop driving," right? And he finally signed up for it. And it doesn't start on the road. It starts with paper tests. Because if driving were just like holding your hands and keeping your car going straight, everyone could drive. Okay? But driving is not about that. It's about thinking quickly and responding quickly. Anyone who's walking with a cane or a walker should really think hard about, can you really move your foot quickly from the gas pedal to the brake? I mean, in an emergency, how many times we have to read about the older driver? Everyone looks at, right, when a car goes through the glass at a store or a restaurant, everyone wants to see how old was that driver, right? Everyone does. So we don't want to read about you in the paper. So learn about your transportation options. There are many, many transportation options. Okay. Okay. Next slide. And same thing, make a plan. Plan A, your plan A, I'm going to drive forever. That's your plan A. Plan B, what if I can't? Then what you're going to do and what you're going to keep doing, what you're going to start doing. Get your eyes checked regularly. Very important. Get your hearing checked. Hearing is part of driving. All right. Next slide. Personal finance, really important. You want to know how much money you have. That's important. You want to get advice if you need it, and you want to create and share key documents. And again, if you're a person living alone, if you don't have family, it's challenging to find someone else that you feel comfortable sharing that. It may be a lawyer, it may be a certified financial planner, but you do have to plan for that. All right, so next slide. So we talked about that, about, your income can change. I've been a social worker in Metro West for a long time. When I started, I was working, doing supportive housing with the Framingham Housing Authority at a place called Hastings House. And the euphemism now is income qualified housing. We used to call it low income housing. And there would be women there who worked all their life for a family business and never got paid. And now they had no money, just the very minimum social security as like a SSI. Um, so other women who live there, and I know this could happen to men too, so I'm not being sexist, but this was the cases where their husband had a pension and they had an option and they retired. They could get more money now, and then when they died, the pension stopped. Or they could get less money now, and then when they died, their spouse continued to get it. So you need to be aware. If obviously, if you are responsible for yourself, you know how to manage your money, simplify your finances. Um, sometimes you have your savings here and you're checking there, and then you have your special savings account, and this is your vacation account. Simplify your finances, make it simple, whether it's for yourself or for people who will be helping you. Um, and and it says, why being paid cash on a table may not be so helpful when you get older. Again, I work with people. Home care is very expensive. Right now, after COVID, non-medical home care through an agency is $40 an hour. Okay. People, you can, meet people, friends, they're willing to do it. I think, you want to be an ethical employer. When you pay someone cash, are you paying into Social Security? What's going to happen to them, in their future. So, um, it's just something for you to, to think about, even if you get paid in cash, right? If you get, if you have a cash business, you're supposed to pay into Social Security, but not everyone does, or does, they'll do some, but not others, but it's going to come back to bite you. So, but, money's important. Resources are important. You can get any amount of care in any setting if you have the resources. I always say, you know who Steve Jobs is? He was the founder of Apple. Okay, he's a very wealthy man. He's dead now. He died of pancreatic cancer, but he never went to a nursing home because he had the money, right? He could almost have a hospital in his home. He got all the care he needed. So there's nothing magic about these places, but it's understanding the resources and how to pay for things. So, all right, next slide. So you want, if you're with finances, you want someone who has a fiduciary relationship to you, which means that they are legally have to make suggestions that to your best interest and not to their best interest. That Springwell has a money management program. So if you're having difficulties, they can help you. There's no cost to that. They have volunteers. A lot of their volunteers are retired accountants or retired lawyers. It's a great program. If you want some assistance, so you don't, it's not all about paying someone to help you. Daily money managers, fee only financial planners, not them who get like a commission when they sell you something. So make sure you understand the decisions you're making. Again, long-term care insurance, annuities, everything sounds good when someone's trying to do it, but make sure you understand, and before you make these decisions. Okay, next slide. Create and share key documents. So again, if your family or your friend is going to help you, they have to know about where these things are. You need to put it all in one place. They need to have, if everything's online these days, they need to know your sign in, they need to know your password. You can talk to your banker about, perhaps having, an adult child on your bank account. So, so this is something there. And then the original documents are important. And then, I always feel sad. Again, this was another client I saw this week. Her husband's in a nursing home now. He paid all the bills. When I came to meet her and she showed me this bill and she didn't know. I said, I'm asking, I said, do you have long-term care insurance? And she shows me this bill from an insurance company, but it's her home care. It's her renter's insurance and it expired. and she didn't know what it was because she didn't pay bills. So educate yourself. It's not too hard. You can do it. All right, next slide. So your plans, very important. It's your choice, okay? You decide what you want and how you want to do it. Okay, next slide, please. All right, very important, connection and growth. So wellness isn't just about your physical body. It's about emotions, intellectual, spiritual. They've done these longitudinal studies, really interesting. They have the Harvard study from the 30s. They have the National Institutes of Health, where they've been following people for 20, 30, 40 years now. The Kaiser out in California integrated, where they're showing that social isolation is as harmful to our health and our longevity and well-being as high blood pressure. I was really surprised to learn that. But so let's see, and then build and diversify your social resources so you can make new friends at any age. I tell people the secret of growing older successfully is to make friends by decades. So if you're 80, you should have friends in their 70s and in their 60s and in their 50s and their 40s. If all your friends are your age, I'm sorry, you're going to lose your friends. You're in trouble. So, all right. See, everyone's laughing. You know that's true. All right, next slide, Doug. Doug, are you bored? I know you wouldn't be here, but you're doing a great job. Thank you. So, emotional. We all have to be optimistic as we get older. We have to get out of bed every morning, right? We to manage our self-esteem. There's a lot of, ageist messages in the media. We're all supposed to be young and beautiful. I'm 70. I'm still waiting for my gray hair, but I feel I'm missing out on something. Uh, but I cut out this advertisement once. It was from a plastic surgeon, and it was like something when aging is no longer acceptable. I mean, what should we do? It's just crazy. There's so many. Anyone here watch HGTV? Yeah, I love it. It's very soothing, right? When I'm anxious, it's always a happy ending, right? Always a happy ending. But every advertisement is a face cream, a vitamin, brain something. So, so you want to be able to say, this is who I am. You've worked hard. Every wrinkle here, you've worked hard for those wrinkles. It just shows how long we've been here on this planet. We want to be able to, have relationships where we can share feelings. We have to manage our feelings. I mean, people who are really negative. Who wants to be with them, right? Or something goes wrong, they blame you. I mean, we all have disappointments. Sometimes we feel irritable. So self-regulation is a skill we can develop at any age, not just for 4-year-olds. And, we have to cope with stress, and we have to know our limits. I always tell people no is a love word to yourself, and also no is a complete sentence. So that again, you have to take care of yourself in all different ways. And I think, you have to continue to learn. And I said the importance of learning technology. And again, it's no longer extra, it's essential. Again, if you can read, you can use a computer. And you have classes, right, to help people, and people there. Very important. And spiritual. And it may be religious, but it also could be your beliefs and values, which provide a sense of meaning and purpose, whatever that is for you. But these are, all part of it. Next slide, Doug. So social isolation is a significant predictor of poor physical and emotional health outcomes. And these are risk factors when you live alone. If you have a mobility or a sensory impairment, and also major life transitions. So if your partner or spouse dies when you move, when I talk to families, about like sometimes moving an older adult from their home to an assisted living or from assisted living to a nursing home. I say it's like transplanting a plant, right? Anyone here gardeners? Have perfect soil, you enrich it, water, sun, and the plant just fails, right? It's really stressful, these transitions. So, certain things can't be, like if you live alone, it may be a risk factor. So you may have to, work in other ways, to take care of yourself, because certain factors are easier to modify than others. Okay, next slide. And then you want to build and diversify your social resources. So, I love Malcolm Gladwell. You may have heard of him. He wrote he wrote an essay called "The Strength of Weak Ties." Worst thing in the world is the self-checkout. There's something really wonderful when you check out of the market and you say hello to the cashier and they say something nice to you. Don't you feel good? Or you talk to them and, and so again, not, if all you have is your relationship is your spouse and that's your strongest relationship and they die, you have nothing. Of course you're going to more, I'm not saying that, but you need to have relations with your neighbors and with friends and people you play mahjong or cards with and people you see at the center, or you belong to a health club. All these things help keep you healthy. Okay. And I think COVID was really hard for all of us. I think, being by ourselves, that I think there's a lot of social anxiety, people, it's harder to reach out to people, but we need to be aware of that. And you can strengthen the relationships you have. I believe change is possible at any age. Okay. So if you've been one way, you can change. And then the strength of weak ties. Next slide, Doug. Again, having a plan. And I think, it's good. There's so much online now to try new things. And in Natick, we've got the Center for the Arts in Natick. There's a storyteller at the Morse Library today from Japan who's going to be telling Japanese and Zen stories. I mean, we're really lucky that there's so much going on in our area. And so, you say, oh, I'm not interested in storytelling. But if you're not doing something, why not? The worst thing that would happen is you walk out, right? Try new things, okay? Be, find out who you are and what you like. There's an orchestra here in Metro West for older people. You don't have to know how to play an instrument. You just go there and, oh, you've always wanted to play the bassoon. They have a bassoon for you. By the end of the year, people are playing. I don't know how they do it. A friend of mine is doing that. She never played a violin in her life. They're not half bad. So seriously, I never heard. Isn't that a great idea? I mean, I think it's pretty amazing, but it's right here. All right, next slide. And so make a plan. Okay. It's going to be your choice whether you stay or go. If you really want it to be your choice, then you need to plan and do the different things that you need to do. So it really is a choice, and that circumstances or health. So the things that you can modify, and the things that you can't modify, make a contingency plan. And I know you're interested in this question because that's why you're here. And I hope I've given you a framework to think about it. And the next slide, Doug. That's Lila. I want to show you Lila right there. Do you see her? She just did a presentation on personal training and dementia in Krakow, Poland. So that's pretty exciting. And these are people on my care team. That's me, not the best picture. And Jennifer and Eileen is a retired physician, and this is her second career. She's a geriatric care manager. So, it's never too late. So I'm going to stop talking now. I'm going to sit down, and then if you have questions or or rebuttal, you don't agree with something I said, I want to hear. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? I know we're near the end of our time, so. Yeah, thank you. Yes. New Horizons is owned by the Cummings Foundation, which is a not-for-profit. They have independent. They do have assisted living as well, and they have a mental health unit that's locked. It is probably one of the more affordable places in independent living. So they have a pool, they have daily mass, they have a weekly Jewish Shabbat service. So if, a lot of people from Metro West go there, so check it out. Yes, yes. Well, no, the different places have different deposits.
You gotta accept that.
Well, first of all, everything's negotiable. You have to talk with them about it. I mean, that's their criteria, but maybe they would have accepted 20 or 25 or 15. I don't know. But that's what that was their ask. But it doesn't hurt to say, did they tell you how long, or do you want an independent, or what are you waiting for there? Independent, is there a particular size apartment you want? Yeah, that's why. I mean, they have smaller apartments that generally come available more frequently. Some of the larger apartments, they have some beautiful apartments there. Not fancy, but it's a nice place and people like it. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. Say your name so I know who you are.
My name is Frank Billo.
Hi, Frank.
Your slides were very valuable and had a lot of good information, but they were very difficult to read because the type was so small. I wonder if the PowerPoint might be made available so that we can take a closer look at it.
That's fine. I mean, it's up. Yeah, if you can maybe put a link on your website, sure. I mean, as I said, I just wanted to give you a rubric to think about it because it feels overwhelming because there's so many factors to think about. And I think the hard thing is that, like you said, there's a $30,000 deposit. We have all things we want that maybe we can't afford. So that's hard, so sometimes our finances limit our choices. But again, you can plan for that. Yes, tell me your name.
My name is Ann, but I need to leave. Can I leave? Do you have a card?
I
available?
do. I
It's in
do.
the packet, all of her
Her card?
information.
All right, then I don't, but thank you.
I have all your,
Okay, thank you. Well, I want everyone to have fun and not feel stressed about this, so thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. You are a great group. I'm going to clap for you.
yeah, and we'll make the Doug recorded the program, so we'll send out that link too, and I'll send out the PowerPoint. Thank you. And we have some information about her services, Malka's services, and what they can do to also help you.
Thank you very much, everyone. You really were great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug, I hope you stop recording.
I'm going to stay until I leave.
Yeah.